Objectsided is a combination of two of my favorite things, object shows and theories. Yet, in the 4 months since I discovered them, we haven't always been in agreement. Since BFDI is something I really care about, I definitely have my own opinions to express, and most of OS's don't overlap with mine. So today, I'm going to explain how BFDI Objectsided faked everything about, well, everything. For the 7 billion minus 11.5 thousand people out of the loop, Objectsided 22 is the second largest BFDI theory channel on the web. Recently, he did 3 theories, each one covering one of the 3 finalists from Season 1, and I watched all 3 of them. But today, I'm going to explain why we don't always agree and what I think about Bubble, Leafy, and Firey. It's time for a cake theory. That was so bad. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Cake Theory, the show that can't seem to stop themselves from being popped.
Earlier this morning I was really afraid of being popped, but now I'm feeling better and I don't think I'm going to be popped.
That's right, we're starting with Bubble. Objectsided's video on Bubble is one of the first videos I ever saw on his channel, and it was definitely compelling. However, it was also mildly disturbing. I couldn't help but notice several gaping holes in OS's theory, and it's time I patched those holes up. Before we begin, I need to summarize Objectside's theory. Basically, they were trying to explain this line from Bubble in BFB 21.
So when I ordered a Bible transformer from Yellowface all those years ago, this must have been where it came from!
Eventually, Objectsided came to the conclusion that there were millions of different bubbles, each one a different object to use the bubble transformer, and that each time a bubble was recovered, a different character played Bubble, and that they somehow automatically knew how BFDI worked and had all the other bubbles' memories. Now, I have quite a few issues with this, some of which you may already see, so I'll cover them one by one. Number 1. Why exactly are we led to assume Bubble is completely different from any other object in the show? Objectside themselves point out that no other character has this weird split personality thing. It just seems completely absurd that Bubble is the only one who has all these different copies of herself, even though many different characters use recovery centers over the years, and they all seem to work the same way. Do all RCs have this technology, or is Bubble somehow special in that regard? Number 2. One of the main points of Objectside's theory is how Bubble could have been transformed into a bubble before the transformer was released to the public in July 2010. Now, here's my answer. What proof states that the Bubble transformer was released in BFDI 7? Sure, that's when the Yellowface ad airs, but what does that even mean? I saw my first ad for McDonald's sometime within the past 13 years. Does that mean my parents' McDonald's memories from before 2008 are all lies? You, the viewer, almost definitely saw your first McDonald's ad on a different date. And BFDI is only one TV show. The first ad for a product on a specific TV channel does not equal the release date of the product. The Bubble transformer could have been out for months before the show starts, and there's no proof that Bubble ordered hers on that specific date. Number 3. Okay, I know this is obvious, but Battle for BFB isn't the most serious, coherent, plot-driven show on the internet. Why are we taking one out-of-context line from the least serious season of BFDI to date and creating a conspiracy theory taking down one of the show's most popular characters? Alright, fine, but assuming that line was actually the truth, that Bubble bought a recovery center and used it on her non-Bubble self, here's what I think happened. Bubble is a non-Bubble object, let's call her Spear, bought a Bubble transformer. Maybe it was a dare from Pencil, maybe she's a compulsive shopper. Whatever the reason, Spear bought a transformer and uses it herself. She became Bubble, like all the other people transformed into bubbles, and popped. However, she was the owner of the Spear Recovery Center, for whatever reason, and thus she was recovered. However, much like that missing piece of Woody from the very first episode, it has never been fixed, even though Woody's been recovered, 5 times now? That's surprisingly low. Anyways, Spear, now Bubble, remained a Bubble, and she changed the name of her recovery center and remains that way to this day. Now, there are definitely some holes to that theory. One thing Objectside explains from his video, which I can't hear, is this scene from BFDI 3.
Hi guys!
Weird girl. Match, how could you kill your own friend?
Don't blame her!
How did Bubble know what Pencil was saying? I have no idea. Next up, why did Spear have a recovery center in the first place? This question remains unanswered. One idea I had is that Spear was actually really smart and she made a lot of often fatal inventions. In order to keep sciencing, she invented the recovery centers. It does seem a little far-fetched, but in comparison to the idea that we have never seen the same Bubble on screen more than once, I think it just might be in the clear. Future Matthew here. I actually watched the Bubble Transformer commercial, and they do in fact reference some recovery centers. I don't think this disproves my theory. I don't think this disproves my theory. I don't think this disproves my theory. In fact, it almost helps it, since Yellowface couldn't sell recovery centers as Spear were selling them, but I am starting to think I might be wrong here. If you have any ideas for why Spear would have a bubble recovery center, please let me know in the comments. Honestly, though, only thing to come out of OS's bubble theory that I can't shut down is when they point out that we never see more than one of the same object. This is actually really interesting, and maybe I'll dive into it on a later date. But for now, it's on to the BFDI runner-up, the one, the only, Leafy. Out of the 3 videos, Leafy's is to me the most controversial and most aggravating. Now, I may be slightly biased in her favor here, but I definitely do not think she deserves the hate that Objectsided gives her in the video. Rewatching the video, most of OS's points are relatively harmless. Leafy was robbed, blah blah blah, she went crazy, yada yada yada, she's trying and failing to redeem herself, and so on. But the way Objectsided sums it all up, it is so blocking and infuriating. This is a direct quote from the video. I really need you to understand that if Leafy constantly strived to be a better person, then she would absolutely not have stolen the island from Firey. She would not have attacked the other contestants the first time she saw one of them again. She definitely would not have used other characters' blind trust in order to benefit, and would not have manipulated the audience one too many times. This enraging statement can only be properly expressed if I fill in the background details. Leafy was a regular character on an object show, filling the role of a boring nice character, a role that I will admit she was definitely failing at, all the way until BFDI 25. But in BFDI 25, when Firey denied her entry into Dream Island, she decided to, in a fit of rage, steal it from him. Objectside does reference this in their video and indeed admits that it makes sense. That's what people do when they're angry. This statement, however, directly contradicts their concludatory remarks. You see why I despise this video yet? Well, let me keep going. After flying away on Firey's hang glider, Leafy blue skidoos to Oil Land, where she hides out until BFDIA 2, when she is disturbed by Needle and Gelatin, who are looking for yoyo berries. She reacts by attempting to murder them. I'll admit this does seem like a point for Objectside, but consider the following. She was excluded by her best friend for an offhand remark she stated because she was about to die, and was placed on a level lower than even Firey's hated enemy Queenie. In a fit of rage, she stole Dream Island, thus making her public enemy number 1. And you know who's leading this pursuit against her? Her best friend and alliance mate, Pin. She has been excluded not once, but twice, each time by one of her closest friends, and forced into exile for 7 months. Given she was already struggling with being nice, it's easy to believe that she just snapped. After all, of the original 20, I would probably rate Leafy the second most likely character to become a psychopath. And I don't think Leafy's in the wrong here. So summing this all up, Leafy is a friend excluded by her other friends, shaped by those closest to her into the monster she became. Ever since, she's tried to fix her past mistakes and occasionally failed. But how is this theory more likely than Objectsided's? Well, I ask you this. If Leafy was truly a sociopath from the start, then why would she have made amends with Firey? That gesture was totally sincere, and there's nothing you can do to change my opinion. Leafy is just a girl in a poor mental state trying to fix her mistakes. And this is why hate like that which Objectside is bringing to her is absolutely unacceptable and not helping the situation whatsoever. And no, I am not going to mention that whole football thing. We do not speak of the football. At last, that brings us to Firey. Of the videos, Firey's is the least coherent, but basically it explains Firey's thought process through a lot of the show. Okay, pause here. This has been a recurring trend in the 3 videos, and it's been really bugging me. In all 3, Objectside enters the mind of the subject object and explains why they did what they did to get ahead in the competition. But to me, none of the 3 objects seem that manipulative, and I don't think any of the objects in the original series of BFDI would ever manipulate the audience in such a way as OS theorizes. Just want to put that out there. And how he should be criticized for his actions. Now, you'd probably expect me to explain how Firey is innocent, that's how it's worked up to here, but this time I'm going to do the opposite. After all, if Leafy isn't responsible for her mental state, then Firey definitely is. The reason she went crazy is because her friends excluded her. The reason her friends excluded her is because she stole Dream Island. The reason she stole Dream Island is because Firey wouldn't let her into it. And the reason Firey wouldn't let her on Dream Island is because she showed distaste in his Ferris wheel, which literally killed her. There is no good reason for which Firey would even take Leafy on the Ferris wheel in the first place, or at the very least not get upset at her for it. He had seen on multiple occasions how fire kills Leafy, and should know that only he can survive lava. But I think I know why he did it. First off, if I were to ask you what Firey's most notable moments in the first 14 episodes of BFB was, what would you say? I thought about it for a while writing the script, and this was the only one I could come up with.
Who do you think has the twinkle now?
Black hole.
Black hole doesn't have eyes, so he can't get the twinkle.
Why is this important? Because it shows Firey's intelligence, or lack thereof. On several occasions, Firey is shown to be not the brightest contestant, and this Ferris wheel is no exception. Leafy tried to make friends with him, the least intelligent yet most popular contestant in the final three, and in return, he betrayed her because his tiny little brain couldn't comprehend that there were other people that react differently to things. Firey is so stupid that it caused a decade of mental issues in his best friend, and yet he somehow made it to the final 7 of 2 seasons, and has only been eliminated once this day, despite competing in every season up to this point. Firey is a monster, unintentionally spewing conflict everywhere he goes because he doesn't have the mental capacity to understand the world. He is stupider than even Snowball and has kept it hidden from the viewers for far too long. He needs to be stopped now before this happens again. His mind-boggling, pure idiocy cannot be tolerated any longer. We need to avenge Leafy and all of her hate and make sure Firey does not survive his first elimination in Season 6. Sorry, I might have gotten carried away there. In conclusion, Objectsided is wrong. But hey, that's just a theory. A cake theory. Thanks for watching. In all seriousness, thank you so much to Objectsided for inspiring this video. I'll link to his videos in the iCard in the top right corner of the screen. I really hope you see this. I spent so much time on it. And to my loyal viewers, I'll see you next week.